programmes this week, we'll look at what it means to become a father. How do daddies manage birth and daycare? And Harriet Lane has just published her first novel, Alice Always. What does she make of her slightly dislikable central character? Now, a couple of weeks ago, we discussed the Labour leader Ed Miliband, the polls which suggested women felt they then are sent to work in a nursery to experience what it's like to look after children all day long. And then tomorrow on BBC Two, there's another programme about fathers. In A Dad Is Born, 3 men are followed through the late stages of pregnancy, birth and care of a newborn. Jamie spent a lot of time reading baby books before his daughter was born.
I feel knowledge is power in that kind of scenario, even though I guess when it comes down to the birth stuff, it won't count for anything, but I feel more comfortable the more I know, and I think Nikki feels comfortable the more I know. I was saying in there on the book, it's like, when you take the baby home, for the first few days it might cough up a bit of mucus and choke a bit. So I didn't know what to do. I'd absolutely crap myself. Baby starts turning blue and like coughing and choking. I wouldn't know, do you hit it on the back? Are you going to hurt it or whatever? But
so you trying to sort of defend yourself or ward off later panic by preparing now?
Totally.
Do they think you're a big softie in the office?
Yep. Yeah, massively.
Will you be leaving before baby gets up, coming back after baby goes to bed?
Realistically, yeah. Then I'll probably end up being third in the pecking order. And I'm quite keen to make sure that doesn't happen.
So how easy or otherwise is it for a man to find his place as a father when so much around this time is geared towards the mother and the baby? Well, I'm joined by Garry Kousoulou, who has 3 small boys and took part in Daddy Daycare, and Jamie Newton's daughter Ella is now 4 months old. So how, Jamie, did all that preparation, reading all those books, help?
I'd like to say it helped a lot, but it really didn't. It was more very useful to understand things about labour and get yourself prepared as much as you can for that process, but a lot of them don't really focus on after and how you're going to react and how sleep deprivation affects people. And how difficult it can be to raise a baby.
Now, you mentioned pecking order in what we heard you there, and reckoned you were probably going to be third in the pecking order.
Yeah.
What is your position in the family now?
No, it's definitely third at the moment. It's just because I'm not there. I'd love to be there more, but obviously Nikki's mother's just down the road and has been a fantastic source of support for us and helping with Ella. But I see Ella maybe 20 minutes a day, and then a bit obviously on the weekends, but it's inevitable that I'm unfortunately third at the moment.
Now, Garry, you are comparably a veteran father with 3 young boys from 1 to 6, I think. Mm-hmm. How did you get involved in the television programme?
It's quite funny, really. I had a disagreement with my wife. The disagreement was about disciplining our eldest. And I said, put him in the naughty corner. She disagreed and she said, stay out of it, you weekend dad. And I took offence to that. I thought I was the best dad in the world. Moments later, on Facebook, there was a flashing banner saying, does your wife think you're a weekend dad? I answered, and there you go. A flippant remark ends up with something completely unexpected.
And what did you learn from working in a nursery?
A huge amount. Stephen Covey talks about the emotional bank account. And when you're a dad with very limited time and resource, you try to do all the fun stuff, all the jazz hands things, but actually that moment of changing a nappy can be quite beautiful done well. Eye contact, slowly, some baby talk, instead of just a process. And I didn't understand that feeding the children is quite beautiful, but a man doing it sometimes, it's a process of just the spoon goes in the mouth, but there's so much more to it. So I found a beauty there. And the 3 children, the baby, we have a different relationship. Even though the oldest, there's unconditional love, the second one is challenging because I didn't put effort into the emotional bank account. But the baby, there's a different relationship there because I understand now.
Now, Jamie, we see you in the programme changing nappies. I know as well that your partner had problems with breastfeeding.
Yeah.
So on this feeding question, how were you able to help with that?
It was a DVD a friend had lent us about breastfeeding. She's a well-known lady, but it's a 2-hour-long DVD, and I ended up watching it twice. This first day we were actually home, because it is. I mean, I think 3 midwives gave us 3 different ways of doing it when we were in the hospital, and so we went home with little or no idea of how it works. Struggled, but after watching that, it was I could help very much positioning Ella. Positioning Ella, so Nikki would be shaping, and then I'd be helping with the latch, sometimes actually latching Ella on, because I can see far better than Nikki can in terms of looking above the whole process. But I didn't think I'd be doing any of that. But having watched that DVD, I watched it twice. A lot of people breastfeeding, and realised it really isn't easy. But
and what difference has that made to your relationship with Nikki and with the baby?
Well, I don't think Nikki expected me to help so much from breastfeeding either. But those first couple of weeks, now it's absolutely easy. It's second nature. She doesn't even have to think about it. But it really helped, because I think if I hadn't have been able to do anything, I think we'd have gone down a bit of a slippery slope. And those first 2 weeks together were absolutely vital for Nikki and I as a couple.
So that was paternity leave.
Yes.
That you took.
Yes.
How important was that in establishing? Because it wasn't for very long, was it?
No,
It's only a
it
fortnight.
was nowhere near long enough. In the sense, 2 weeks in, I was back at work and having to sort of trying to get back to some sort of normality and work hard. And Ella was, nowhere near sort of established any kind of routine or any kind of practice. And it's not long enough, but it was absolutely vital for what it was.
Now, you, Gary, I know, are a self-confessed workaholic.
Absolutely. I'm smiling because on all of the babies, I didn't take any paternity leave at all. I was back to work the next day. Yeah, so there we go. So it's interesting.
How possible is it to be a truly good father if you're at work all the
That's
time?
a great question. I think quality and quantity is different. I didn't realise what harm I was doing. I realise now. I think you can work and be a great dad, but that emotional bank account that I go back to, you can invest time in the children, really special quality time, rather than just being there. So I think you can work, but workaholic is not a good life-work balance. It's going to damage the children in the end.
So
Luckily,
have you stopped?
I have. I had 4 businesses. I now have sold 1. I'm a home on time. I have a better relationship with my wife because of it. We went to the cinema yesterday, first time in 4 years, Valentine's Day, which then makes everything run more smoothly. I have changed, and I thank goodness for the programme, because I realised something beautiful I was missing out on. And you can't catch up.
You work very long hours in the city from 7:30 till 7:30.
Yeah.
How are you going to manage to be involved if you continue with that?
It's a struggle. Weekends, I look forward to Saturday morning when I get up with her and I have my hour of play with her and things like that, and take whatever I can. But I don't know how I'm quite going to be able to address it, because I can't simply shorten my work hours, and I work for quite a small business that's very supportive. But I'd love to be home more. I really would, and I know Nikki would love me to be there a bit more.
So what would enable you to share being a parent with Nikki?
It's a difficult one. I think they have increased sort of paternity leave allocation, so I could technically take up to 6 months out, I think, as a dad. So I'm not sure exactly, but I guess a better provision for dads or businesses to be a bit more understanding in terms of maybe flexible hours. I think if I went in and asked for flexible working hours to leave at 4:30 every day, not only would it affect the morale of the business and my team, but it's sort of a relatively uncommon thing for a guy to do at the moment.
But women do it all the time.
Yeah.
Don't we need
one of my team members
pioneers
does
like
it. Yeah.
you?
One of my team members, she leaves at 4:30 every day to pick her daughter up from nursery, but she works. She does more activity in 4 days a week than the rest of my team together, and so it can work. But I just think it's quite an uncommon thing. But I'd love to be home more.
Gary, what about you?
Well, I'm curious. The children, when occasionally I drop them at school or pick them up, very occasionally, they love that, and that's a bonding experience. Do you get to do that?
I'd like to say yes, but still on the weekends, it's building the relationship back up with Ella, because I'm pretty sure she's just starting to work out who I am. But I don't have that. I mean, with Nikki, my wife, the bond is so much more, and I miss it, because I feel like I'm a bit of a stranger But I'm sure that'll get better with time when we go on holidays and things like that. But
do you understand when I say like that beautiful moment of changing a nappy and your eye contact or feeding or bathing? Do you get that beautiful spiritual level where, because I didn't understand it before.
Yeah, bathing in particular. Like, she looks at me and we just we sit there and we have a little sing with each other and she barbles at me. And but yeah, changing nappies, it's not what I call a golden moment, but
it can be. You know what? It can be. It really can be. If you just don't think of it as just changing that nappy, have a play while you're doing it. It really can be a special moment.
Well, Garry Kousoulou and Jamie Newton, thank you both very
you.
much indeed for being with us. And the best of luck. You can see Daddy Daycare tonight at 8 on Channel 4 and A Dad Is Born tomorrow night at 9 on BBC 2. Now, The Secret Life of the Home is a gallery in the Science Museum in London.